Well, welcome everyone. What a wonderful day it is. Today is Saturday, and the time where I am in Miami, Florida is 1:35, and the temperature is 82. If you are not enjoying that, come on down. We have plenty of room here. I know what you might be going through. I grew up in New York City and spent many days freezing, walking around Manhattan with the wind whipping around. And so if you are in an area that's rather chilly right now, well, we have plenty of palm trees and plenty of beaches here, and there is room for you to come and have a nice vacation or maybe move here. Anyway, what I want to do here is just go and do a little bit more in ZyBooks. I'm going to try to do 2 sections at a time so I can keep these videos short. So we're going to talk about arithmetic expressions, and I have my own ideas on how you should do them, but you're free to follow what ZyBooks uses when you're doing things. When you're doing the lab exercises, I will try to give you some insights on exactly how to submit it to get the most amount of points in here. So basically, expression is anything that you've learned in math where a plus b equals C, or 5 plus 2 equals 7. The main thing you want to understand is that everything has to actually go right to left. So you'll see that in a little bit. So we're just talking about addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And a little bit later, you're going to see modulus, which is remainder. But you can see that an expression is something that has variables. A literal is really something like a calculation, or it could be just a number. So let's go and look in here. So indicate which is a valid expression and x and y are variables. Well, x plus 1 is fine. So I already see nothing wrong with this. And let's go to 2 times x minus y. Now notice that in parentheses is the x minus y. Without it, what would happen is it would multiply 2 times x and then subtract y. So you always want to make sure that you're following the order of operations. I highly recommend using parentheses in all calculations unless they are identical. In other words, a multiplication and a multiplication, or a plus, a plus, a plus. So let's go with valid on this one and see what happens. Now this one's a little challenging. Is this really an expression? Because it's just plain x. So I'm going to let you guess right now, and then I'm going to click on what appears to be the answer based upon going up here. Expression is an individual item or a combination of items like literals, operators, and parentheses. Evaluates 2 like 2 times in here. So let's go and look at this definition. A literal is an expression valid like 2 or operator. So let's just take a look at it. We're asking, is this valid expression? So is it really expression, or is it just variables? So let's see what happens if we choose not valid. And it tells us it's wrong. Well, that doesn't make sense because now we're talking about this in here. But remember, it's an individual item or combination of items. So that one can be a little bit choosy, a little bit confusing. That's why I wanted to hit the wrong answer so that you can see what I'm talking about. So let's go with valid. And now 2 is 2 an expression. 2 should be just 2. So let's see what happens. All right, so now we have a dilemma. We have 2x. Now this is great if you're doing math on a piece of paper, but C++ is not going to recognize 2x. So it's going to want a star sign for multiplication. So let's go with not valid and see how we make out. And we're good in here. And it does give you an explanation here. So let's go back to the one that we chose wrong in the beginning, and let's choose not valid and see how an expression can be just a variable, and it can also be just a number. So what's good about this, if you guess wrong, you can go back and do it again. So I'm going to leave these for you to finish on your own. So we're going to look here and it says, does the expression correctly capture the intended behavior? So we want 6 plus num items. Well, you have to use a plus sign in here, so I'm going to go with yes. 6 times, I'm going to go with the x in here. And then you can go, look, we have it. Incorrect. So 6 times num items is a star. Oh, look at that. So remember, we're doing stars and not x's, which is what I addressed in a little bit while ago. But what I really like about this is you have an opportunity to find out why you got the wrong answer, and then you can go back and correct it. So let's go back and choose this no. And then, is the slash sign a valid operator? Well, we know that the x is not, but it's a star. So let's try this here. And we over here, it's straightforward division. And then we have 5i. So you're going to have to figure that out. Is there a star there? No, there is not a star there. Minus usually about. So I'm going to leave this here. Now, n factorial is actually not an expression. So I'll help you with that. And let's choose no and see what happens. Yeah. So we're not going to use that. Now, there is a way to do factorial using what's called recursion, but we're not going to worry about that right now. And you can follow this on your own over here. And again, we'll just do one or two of these here. So if we look at y plus 2 plus z, remember that it's really better to use parentheses in there. So the order of operations is starts with PEMA, which stands for parentheses is top priority, E for exponents, that is next, then multiplication and division, that's the M, and then addition and subtraction, that's the A. So what we want to do here, since 2 times z is going to be done first, we would want to choose this. So let's do one or two more. So we have z divided by 2 minus x. Well, remember, subtraction and addition is last. So what we're going to do is z divided by 2, and then we do the x. So we're going to do one more. Now, this one really is basically the same if you remember the commutative properties and things like that from your math days. But when everything is the same, you go left to right. So we're going to do x times y times z, which is really going to give you the same answer as this. So let's see what ZyBooks has to say. And there we are. So it occurs left to right. So I'm going to let you do their own for practice here. And then again, using parentheses to make the order explicit. I highly, 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 highly recommend using parentheses in all of your calculations. It makes it so much easier to read. So we have one here. You can see that there's no such thing as brackets in here. And so here is below our expressions using parentheses in here. And what I just want to do is address with you that I would recommend adding parentheses in here as well to make it a little bit more readable. So here what you have is age times this. So you're going to get this, then you're going to get this. It'll subtract this, then it'll add the multiplication of this, and then it'll subtract this. Then what it's going to do is multiply the times minutes, then divide it by 4.184. To make it look a little bit clearer, I would put parentheses around here as well. But the most important thing is to understand that you want the parentheses here to make sure that you're doing the times minutes in here, because if you don't, you have this minus 20 and you're going to get a little bit off in here. So you can play with that as you want. So what we did here is, and this is kind of a little bit confusing as to what they want to do. So we're replacing brackets with the parentheses in there. And single words, we're replacing multi-terms and spaces with single words. So that might be a little bit confusing, but let's try this here and see what happens. That looks good. And we're replacing a minus with a minus, and replacing an X, as we saw before, with a star. So that takes care of this, and that's everything in here. And we're going to talk about integers now, and we're going to end it at 2.5. I will try to keep this to 2 sections at a time. And you can see how easily it is to declare a variable. So we're going to do integer, 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 integer. And when I do it, I declare integer and I do hit the enter key and do down payment, comma, payment per month, instead of having to type integer, 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 integer. The advantage of having them all on different lines is it gives you the option to comment each one individually. I also recommend, even though it's not required, that you initialize everything as you declare. For instance, integer down payment equals 0, then payment per month equals 0, and so on. So now we have a enter payment. Now notice there is no end line after down payment. That is going to allow the user to have the down payment on the same line as here. Also remember this when you do the lab activity at the end of the chapter. Even though it doesn't tell you so, you want to put in on your final submission, which comes to me, you need to put the C outs. Unfortunately, if you put them in for ZyBooks, they will probably mark you down for not putting them down because they don't tell you to. But you want to make sure that when the user looks at something, he knows what they're supposed to enter in here. So with removing the parentheses below have yielded the same result. So you have to understand that the actual order of operations would be payment per month times num months and down payment in there. So you can see that the payment per month times num months has a parenthesis here, but removing them is not going to make any change. It just looks like you're going to go down payment plus payments per month and then num months. So I'm going to let you work on these, but just bear in mind that parentheses would only override the regular order of operations, which again are PEMA, parentheses, exponent, multiplication and division, and then addition and subtraction. So let's go and keep going down here. And so it tells us to retype each statement to follow in good practice of a single space around operators. So what I'm going to do here is, I hope it'll let me copy. I don't remember. I did this yesterday and I've already forgotten. So let's copy this here and paste it. Now one thing to remember is if you click on show answer, then it will not let you redo it. So make sure before you click on show answer, you have already gotten the correct thing. So, or even if you got incorrect and you're just frustrated, you want to see what the answer is. So let's click on the star here. And we put a space between the star and the 10, and we only put one space. But let's just say, hypothetically, I did 2. Well, the first time, let's do it here. And we have a problem. So what is the problem? It tells us in here, answer is nearly correct, but white space differs from below. So it's basically telling me I have a space here. So that looks good. So let's do the same thing here, but I'm going to put an extra space. And let's see what happens now. Doesn't like that either. So this is the way that I prefer that you would do it, but it will not give you the right answer. It's going to say don't put in extra characters. So let's go and see if it does indeed say that. Look at this, add a thing, make sure there are no extra spaces in here, and basically it doesn't want anything other than what's there. So let's go back to this and we'll get rid of the right parentheses, even though it does make sense, and even though the compiler will do just fine. Let's click here and we're good here. So again, we have the same thing. So you're going to want to put a space before and after the plus sign and before and after the plus sign here. So we're going around here. So now we have compound operators, and we talked about minus equals, stars equals, this in here. So this is really something that allows you to do a special thing. So if I wanted to add, here we wanted to add 5 to num atoms. What this really means is the same thing as saying add 5 to num items instead of saying num items equals num items plus 5. So this is an actual shortcut in here. So what is num atoms after num atoms plus 5? So to show you what I'm talking about, num atoms right now is 7. So basically this is saying add 5 to num items. It's just shortcut. It saves you a bit of typing. So it should be 12. So let's see if I have good math skills. And we're good here. So again, if num atoms is 7, what is num atoms after star equals 2? So that should be 14. And I'll do this one for you, and let's check it out. So the rest do on your own. But again, this does not mean minus equals. It just means subtract something and then add it to whatever it is, which in this case is subtracting in here. So you're missing plus equals, and this is minus equals, star equals, and then you also have the modulus in here. So let's see where we're going in here. Is the following an error? Suppose its maximum int value is 214. All right, so here's an issue that is really not one of my favorite things about C++. You cannot put commas in. So notice that we have 1, 999, 999, 999. So if I were to put in yes here, it actually says commas are not allowed. So is the following an error? If I put no, it will tell me basically the opposite. So be very, very careful. You can. Now some compilers will allow you to put an apostrophe or a single quote and do one single quote 999, single quote 999, single quote 999. But that's up to the individual compiler. So let's see what we have. So we have a actual thing to submit here, and we have, let's see, write a statement that assigns the final result to sum of num1 plus num2 divided by 3. So that really, you just need to go and break it down one at a time. So you're taking the sum of num1 and num2. So I would put in parentheses num1, divide that by 3 in there. So I'll leave that to you. And again, you have another one here for you to do. A drink costs $2. A taco costs $4. Given a number each, compute the total cost and assign total cost with the result. Example, 4 drinks and 6 tacos equals $32. So you're going to need to create an expression that's going to multiply the cost times the number of drinks and then the cost of the tacos times the number of tacos there. So let's see what we have, and that actually is the last of here. So in our next video, we'll do 2.6 and 2.7. So I'm going to click on this here so you can see what's going on here, and we're talking about incremental ways of doing things. So this is it for this video. So please leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Subscribe to my channel. And that way, whenever I post a new video, you will be notified. So have a wonderful, wonderful day. I am going to do 1 or 2 more things, and then I'm going to go to the gym and hopefully make myself stronger. So have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the day, and stay safe. And let me know if there's anything that you need.